Hello and welcome. In this video, we are going to continue our look at running our own image repository for tools like Docker. In the previous video, we had finished up the steps of running that container that represented the repository itself. And of course, we added in a number of options to provide that container with persistent storage so that our images would last longer than that container. We set up TLS encryption to protect our passwords, and we set up some basic authentication with HTPassword. So that all resulted in this nice long command that had all of those options put in, and that is still running on my container in the background. In the meantime, I have stopped it and restarted it, but it is still there, and we can see the command that we used to run it. And where we're going to pick up is our clients now need to access this registry. If you have used a certificate signed by an actual certificate authority, great, you can log in using the typical Docker login command and you're done. However, I used a self-signed certificate because my demodomain.ca isn't an actual domain. I use it for demonstrations and videos like this one. So I can't get an actual certificate authority to authenticate that as my domain because it's not. So I used a self-signed certificate, which as long as this registry is only supposed to be accessible within my organization from inside the machines that are under my organization's control, there's a really simple step that we can take to make this accessible. All we need to do is take that certificate file from our server and transfer it over to our clients to tell them this is a trusted certificate. We know it's self-signed, but it's okay. And that will go in the directory /etc/docker/certs.d, a subdirectory named after that domain that you're authenticating, and of course the certificate file itself. This directory is not going to exist by default. You will have to do this yourself, though if you have potentially several private registry servers, somebody else could have created certs.d. So if I bring up my Docker 1 machine here, hiding in the background, and we head over to etc docker. Well, before I try to do anything, I will try to log in. Sudo docker login. And it's going to complain. This certificate that I have received from the server is signed by an unknown authority. In fact, it's signed by itself, and itself is an unknown authority, so we get this error. So all we need to do is to take that certificate file from the server and drop it onto this machine. I already have it on this machine, but I've stored it in /tmp. I'm not going to waste anybody's time showing you how to SFTP it or something. And if I ls, I've already created certs.d, and inside certs.d, docker repo.demodomain.ca. And it's empty. So all we need to do is copy that certificate file here. So I'm going to sudo cp temp self.crt into this directory. There it is. And now I'll be able to log in, but there's a peculiar quirk that I discovered in my first attempt to record this video. If I still try to log in with what I've done here, it's actually still going to complain. And I'm really not sure why, because if I go over to a machine, same machine, I've just logged into it directly from Virt Manager instead of SSHing in, and I say sudo, actually it'll still be in my history, docker login, docker repo.demodomain.ca -u and admin, it logs in. There is something about using an SSH connection that it decides it still doesn't like this signature. I'm at a loss to explain why that is when Docker is clearly willing to accept that. And of course, now I can use my Docker push and Docker pull as an admin to store images in my private repository. So what we've looked at between this video and the previous one is how you can set up your own Docker image registry that is private to you and the people you give access to. That way, you can manage your containers and your images within your own organization without having to worry about pushing potentially sensitive images onto public registries where they could potentially be accessed by others. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.